Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast. Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. This is September 3rd. I hope everyone had a happy Labor Day weekend. Don, Chuck, and me back and better than ever. Guys, how are you?
Great.
Don, we haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
Fantastic.
Went on vacation. You went to Fenway Park for the first time. How was that?
It was great. But you know what? The uniform czar in me, they've played, 10 million games in Fenway Park?
Yeah.
And the day that I go, the one time that I go to Fenway Park,
They were yellow.
they wore those awful yellow alternates.
That was a solid
So
game.
disappointing.
Yeah, the city uniforms.
Yeah, whatever they were.
I don't mind them, but I'm also a Red Sox fan. So, but Fenway in general, how was the whole Fenway experience?
It was great. One of the better just plain generic ballpark hot dogs I've ever had. The bun was really soft, and
Fenway Franks
was a really good item. The national anthem was sung by this little 6-year-old girl, and she crushed it. It was the best thing that happened all day.
Much better than the All-Star game. National Anthem by Ingrid Andress.
Yeah, much better.
All right, before we get started, I want to remind you all to subscribe to the News 4 and Fox SA YouTube channel. If you're so inclined, download, rate, review the podcast wherever you get your podcasts as well. Helps us out a lot, so appreciate that. We got a lot to talk about today. UTSA had an up-and-down showing in their first game against Kennesaw State. Finally know the starting quarterback, who I predicted accurately as Owen McCown. We'll talk about him as well. The latest on the Cowboys and Dak Prescott's future. Diana Orsini reporting some interesting things this morning about the discrepancy about where each party is on this deal, I guess.
Good.
And then we got week 2 of the High School Hype Squad. Also, we will reveal our TNL top 10 for week 2 and break down our TNL matchup of the week. But first, as we usually do, trivia. Trivia question for today. UTSA has had one player go in the first round of the NFL draft in their history. Who was it? What team did they go to?
Easy.
That's as much of a layup as you've ever given us, Matthew. Thank you.
I mean, I had a lot to do this morning, so I was like, what should I do for them? And this was my gift to you.
Thank you. Great way to start post Labor Day.
I didn't know.
We'll make it a little more difficult by adding what high school did he go to?
Or you can give me what pick you went
Easy.
as well.
Okay.
All right.
I still think it's
Give me the draft, give me the pick, give me the team, give me the high school, give me everything about
and
this player.
the added pick that was thrown in order for that team to get him in the first round.
There
Where
you
did
go.
that pick come from?
And what great team that coach that drafted him is now coaching.
You know, so I don't even think about this until.
Okay, now we narrow it down.
There's so many levels to this layup. It's unbelievable. Yes.
In fact, I don't think about him often, but the fact that you brought it up, Chuck and I were doing UTSA football back then, and
Calling the games?
Yeah.
Oh.
And the fact that it's UTSA Texas State week, we went to San Marcos and called that game on television, and it was as if he was growing and getting better exponentially week to week. And the game that he had at Texas State was like the guy from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah, Jefferson.
Is that what that's from? Is that why you and Jack say that all the time?
Yes.
He dominated,
Yeah.
like man among fourth graders. It was so fun to watch.
Yeah, and it went like this. This guy is going to get drafted at the beginning of the season because of the measurables and everybody saw his twitch. To about 3 weeks in, he's a day 2 guy for sure. We've already seen enough. And then by, I think, week 6, it was he's not making it out of the second round.
All right, well, since we're already telling stories about him, go ahead and answer the trivia question.
Go ahead, Chad.
I forget.
Marcus Davenport.
All right,
First round.
Who did he go to?
To the Saints.
What
number
pick?
15.
15.
14.
14?
Stevens High School?
Yeah.
Yep. And started his career at Stevens, a wide receiver.
Really? Wow. Didn't know that.
All right, wait, it gets better. The Saints also threw in an extra first-round pick with which team in order to grab him at 14?
The Packers?
Correct.
that
So the
was
Saints
just a
really
guess,
wanted him.
Yeah, now he's on the Lions, still playing. So
Still playing, yep, not been real fortunate in terms of being able to stay healthy and
Lost half a toe.
a finger.
Finger. Okay.
Yep.
some
Yes, he's
metacarpal.
definitely put his body on the line to play NFL football.
Yeah. And a
Marcus
good dude.
Davenport.
It's all right. Sean Payton, a great evaluator of
Huge
talent,
anime fan,
obviously.
by the way, too.
All right. Well, since that we got that out of the way now, I figured I'd give you guys an easy one coming out of Labor Day. Didn't know who was going to come in hungover or not. So, no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I worked. Well, some could say that.
Yeah, I was going to say, does that matter? All right, let's get to UTSA. UTSA beat Kennesaw State this week, 28-16. Owen McCown won the starting job. Owen was the starter that came out, scored touchdowns on the first 3 possessions. Looked like they were going to blow Kennesaw out of the Alamo Dome all the way back to wherever they came from. And then 25 minutes later, score is still 21, and they hadn't scored for a solid 25 minutes in the game. So let's hear what Coach Traylor said yesterday about his team's performance before we give our 2 cents.
Minus their penalties for emotion. I thought the offense upheld theirs for 1 quarter, and I thought our special teams, other than our Delta unit, which is our kickoff return team, was not good. And I'm the head football coach, so that's all on me. And that's where we stay. We stay in our lane. We're trying to coach our team. We're trying to get better. I've told y'all, I hope my players do it too. I mute, our staff mutes every single outside entity. We don't want any noise coming in our locker room. Is that possible, Greg, to really keep all that out? I doubt it, but we're pretty committed to our culture and staying within our locker room. And I know I sound like a caveman, old, and it's boring, but it's just what I think is best to control the controllables and to continue to get better each week. And like I said, being funny, but not being funny, we had to take a huge jump this week if we're even going to be able to compete with these guys Saturday.
He's not wrong. His defense played really well. They just kept putting him in bad positions. And Owen, I think, played well, but the offensive line was like, there you go. So it didn't really help
were
them
they?
a lot.
I mean, they still ran like crazy in this ball game. I mean,
They had Kennesaw had 5 sacks, and this is a team that's playing their first FBS game in their history. Like, that shouldn't happen against UTSA,
Every
who's
time
one of
I
the best
looked
Group of
up,
5
he
schools.
was running for his life.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch the first quarter, so I caught the bad part.
You missed the good.
Yeah, yeah.
look, what Alfred E. Newman this, right? I mean, it's the first game. You've got a huge game coming up this week and an even bigger game coming up the following week. Work out some kinks. I mean, Owen still completed 70% of his balls.
Yeah,
I mean,
he looked good. When he was protected, he looked really good.
Yeah,
much
but
ado
it's-
about nothing. I get that they're trying to, low key. They didn't beat them 70-0, and everybody thought that was going to be the case. But I don't know, man. It's week 1. You didn't think they were going to put out the whole playbook there in week 1.
You
They're
feel-
saving some stuff.
So how do you feel about Texas State being a 3-point favorite?
I don't hate to get into the gambling part of it because I'm so bad
no,
at
but,
it.
I
if
mean,
I did gamble,
No,
that's proven on this
not-
broadcast.
Not about gambling, but just like
Hey, I'm the one that chose
I-
Clemson.
They're
right?
at home.
I didn't.
They
think,
also, I think, are similar in that everybody was
didn't
thinking
look
they
very
were going to
good,
get
yeah.
a blowout win, and so I don't know. I think because it's week 2, you have no idea really what you're going to get. We're going to find out a lot though this weekend about both teams.
I think this week we saw the bad UTSA. They've been preaching defense and running game to help out a young quarterback, whether it was Eddie Lee or Owen. You can't have 76 rushing yards on 34 attempts. You just can't. Like, that's less than, what is that, 2.2? I put the box score in your guys' packet as well. That's 2.2 yards a carry. You had more penalty yardage than rushing yards in this game. That just can't happen against a good team. You're going to beat Kennesaw State like that. That's fine. But you're not going to beat Texas State. You're definitely not going to beat Texas, and you're not going to beat half the teams in your conference if you have that kind of stat line. That's just, it's unacceptable, and he knows that. I mean, Jeff after the game was pissed. He's still mad, I'm sure. Like he knows that that's not his game, and he said it multiple times. This was not the 2-0 triangle of toughness culture that they have built over the last 5 years, and if I would be really surprised if they don't get back to that on Saturday.
Yeah, the offensive line was
Porous.
not great. And you know what? Jeff might be mad at me for saying this, but what are they going to give Kavorian Barnes like 25 carries? Right now, I know he fumbled, but he got 4 touches. And they go with Rocco, who's good, and they go with the other guy,
Robert Henry.
Yep, who's good. And then they went with a young freshman, a real speedy
Brandon
kid.
High.
Henderson, I think.
Oh, well, yeah, Will Henderson.
Will Henderson. But it's like, man, when Barnes has a steady diet, he's proven to be 4.5, 5 yards a carry guy.
That's coming. It's not going to happen against Kennesaw State. They got to find out who can play. This is a long schedule, and All you have to do is look at A&M and Notre Dame and see how banged up both of those teams are when you get that kind of a atmosphere, that kind of a matchup in week one. It's going to set your trajectory in a different path right off the bat. I mean, some of this is survive in advance.
Yeah.
So, again, I think we're going to see a lot this weekend.
I think there's
from
something.
both teams.
There's something to that, but there's also something to they come out like their hair's on fire. They score on their first 3 possessions. They look great doing it. They have that long 61-yard screen to Robert Henry that got him in position. Devin McEwen looks like a wide receiver one right now, even without JT Clark on the field. Like, they were looking fantastic, and then they hit that weird lull, and it's not like I think if they could have blown Kennesaw out of the building, they would have. It's not that they didn't want to. So to counter your point, I don't think they only won by 12 because they didn't want to win by 24, but I just think that they couldn't get out of their own way.
I think that's fair too. But again, it's week one, and look at the stats. They killed these guys on the stat board, right? I know there's more than just, there's more than just stats, but again, I'm not giving this a whole lot of energy. It's on to week 2.
Let's get to what Coach said about Owen McCown's performance after he watched the film. This was Coach yesterday.
I would say he was really good. I mean, whenever you can't protect a quarterback and you can't run the ball, it's going to look like the quarterback's not playing well. But when we protected him and we ran the ball well, what he looks at, he hits. He's a better athlete than people think that he is. We just got to do a better job of protecting him, but I thought he played really well.
Couple things. I thought he played really well too. He's a redshirt sophomore. You knew he was going to start this game. Like, you read all the tea leaves. It was Owen from the very beginning. I'd never really bought the quarterback competition between him and Eddie Lee. I knew it was going to be Owen coming out. And you look at some of the throws he made. There was one that didn't end up in a score. I think it ended up in maybe this results in the third score. I can't remember. It was right before halftime, and he laces a laser right down the seam to Oscar Cardenas, and it was just like, oh my God, what a throw. There's some of those moments. Obviously, he got spooked a little bit when the pass rush started getting to him, and Coach said that after the game as well. It looked like he got a little antsy after the pass rush started getting there.
I like his escapability.
He was just really, really mature and good for most of that game.
He's fast too. He's got good escapability. He's athletic. We got spoiled watching Frank Harris run. Frank never looked like he was running fast, but you never seemed to catch him. Owens, I like his running ability too, and I think that's going to be an added asset to the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you saw a little bit in this game what you saw in the Frisco Bowl. It's like, when something bad happens, he didn't get rattled.
Yeah.
He got rattled a little bit when the pass rush started getting to him, but that's because they were in his face for like 3 quarters, and the offensive line needs to be fixed before you go to Texas State, that's for sure. But what you saw in the Frisco Bowl was 2 bad interceptions, and then comes back and scores on like the next 5 possessions. And this one you saw 3 scores, and then, okay, as soon as Kennesaw cuts this to a 1-score game, they go out, they score 7 more points, and the game's over.
Yeah.
So I think
Do you think
the
Jeff's
rattle ability
sandbagging? He's talking about Texas State like they're the '85 Bears.
Yes.
You think he's sandbagging a little bit, or is Texas State that good?
Well, I think they're good, but I also think you don't want to give them any ammunition, right? I think Texas State surprised a lot of people in that matchup against UTSA last year. They came in here and went toe-to-toe with them, and it was a 1-score game, and now you got to think that they're better. I think in a lot of ways UTSA is probably better too, although we're going to find out. Now they got to go there. It's going to be a packed house. This, in a lot of ways, is Texas State's Super Bowl, and they've carried the mantle this offseason about wanting the expectations, and they want everybody to be on the bandwagon and then to fulfill the expectations that everybody's heaping on them. So I think this is for sure, when they put their schedule out, this one was number one that we're going to be up for and ready to go.
And to add to that point, it's been circled for both fan bases as well. There's not one Texas State fan or one UTSA fan that does not want to watch this game or go up to San Marcos and make some noise, because you have, for some reason, Texas State fans, and I don't want to talk crap on them, but they've gotten this big chest thinking that there's this great team. Guys, you're still in the Sun Belt and you're still 0-5 against UTSA. So until you knock off Big Brother, you can't act like Big Brother.
They might get it this
They might.
year.
They very well might. They're going to be favored in this game probably. It's up to 2.5. It's probably going to be at 3.5.
I'll speak for some Texas State fans. I just think most Texas State fans are happy that their team is relevant again.
Yeah.
I think more than anything else. So, yes, it's a big game. If they win this game, then it's going to be like, holy cow, okay, maybe there is some extra room on the bandwagon to really get involved and really get behind this team. But, again, I think this is a much bigger game for Texas State in terms of trying to build what they're doing. However, bigger picture, it's a more important game for UTSA based on where they really
100%.
think they can go this year.
I don't think UTSA can lose this game and make it to the playoff. I think Texas State could lose this game and make it to the playoff because they'll go through their district or they'll go through their conference.
Neither one of these teams makes the playoff if they lose. You have to be undefeated.
I think that's fair.
You have to be undefeated.
I don't think you have to be undefeated because UTSA is going to lose to Texas next week.
Well,
Probably.
Okay, you have to be undefeated against
these
everybody
kinds
but
of teams.
the top 5 teams in the nation.
That might not be enough.
Yeah,
And that may not be enough. Hey, I got something for you. You want to put the cart way before the horse?
I love it. Yeah,
Let's
go.
I started feeling better about this if you're a UTSA follower. If Dave Aranda is indeed out in Waco after this year, if they struggle, and Jeff Traylor is the new coach of the Baylor Bears, is G.J. Kinney your new Roadrunners coach?
I don't think so because I don't know if GJ looks at that as too much of a step up from where they are right now.
Well, it would be in terms of conference.
In terms of conference, yeah.
And money.
I mean, that's.
I like the way you spitball.
Let's talk about that in January. All right, so that's what we're going to preview the Texas State game a little bit more on Thursday, but that's a little taster of what we'll talk about on Thursday. Let's get to the Cowboys here. So Dallas and Dak still talking contract. There's no deal done. We're 5 days away from the dog pound where our Bob Gambert's going to be watching the game pretty strongly, I'm sure. They're pretty focused on that game, I should say. We'll get to more of the game against the Browns on Thursday. I want to talk about Dak and the contract today. So this is from Diana Rossini in their Scoop City podcast with Chase Daniel, and talking about what this contract status and like where the stall in the negotiations has kind of gone. Chris?
Dak is a lame duck quarterback, Diana. What are you hearing about this? Is it the money or is it the years?
The holdup at this point, from what I understand, is about the years the Dallas Cowboys are willing to commit to.
Really?
While it's assumed that Dak is going to be paid at the top of the market, the Dallas Cowboys are aware of that. It's, do they want to put themselves in a position contractually that will keep Dak in Dallas longer than 2, 3, 4 years? And that's what Dak is looking for. He's looking for a long-term commitment from Dallas. So the holdup here is really the belief from the Dallas Cowboys. This is a guy who's won a lot of games, but is that enough?
Interesting. So the turntables. Dak wants reportedly from Diana Rossini on the Scoop City podcast. I know. I just did that.
But if the table turns, then it could be turns table.
So Dak,
Well, if it's a turntable, then we're going back to vinyl.
So Dak wants a 5-year, six-year deal, and the Cowboys seem to want to give him 2, 3, or 4. Is that what do you guys think of that? I don't even know how to phrase that question.
I can't wrap my head around Dak Prescott being paid more than about $40 million a year.
He's going to get way more than that.
I know.
And then the years too, right?
And the years too. Like he's what? We've decided he's the 7th best quarterback in the NFL. He should get 7th best quarterback money. And there's this assumption by everyone that he's going to get $60 million and become the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Why? Why? Because it's his turn? Because he's the latest quarterback to set the market? I'm hoping that the things that Jerry Jones said last week, he really believes. And that is, there's a lot of things that could affect his contract status. Injury, level of play, what Jerry said. So it makes me think he's waiting to see. He's waiting to see if he can win in the playoffs. He may go the whole season waiting. Maybe he's just, negotiating through the media and he's going to cave and give him $60 million in 5 years.
Jerry cave? No.
But Jerry said this week, he knew he had to get CD done because CD wasn't under contract. Dak's under contract.
CD was under contract for this year.
But he'd
Technically,
waited
he
his
could have had 2 more
turn
He waited his turn.
to have 1 year left on his deal and not having been paid his first bag.
If you couple
Dak has already gotten his first bag.
If you couple this, though, with what Dak said last week, which was, it says a lot if they don't sign me by Sunday. Everything, the stars are aligning for Dak to be a free agent next year.
Right.
And,
But if you're
they're
Jerry-
going to lose him.
Why?
Why are they going to lose him? Because someone's going to offer him $65 million a
Then
year.
so could Jerry.
Jerry won't pay him $65 million a year.
If he's worthy of it.
If he gets to,
Why pay him 65 now today if you can wait and see if he's worthy of it? If he runs the table, they win the Super Bowl.
because you don't have to give him 65 today. You can give him 57 and make him the highest paid quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years, and then you get him.
I think it's worth the gamble. If you're Jerry, I think it's worth the gamble. If he wins you a Super Bowl, then you match whatever he's got. But why give him 57 today?
Because that's what the going price is.
For a
We'll
guy
see.
who's never won a playoff game. Or
I'm not
maybe
saying
two.
they should. I'm in favor of
Being
them.
fair.
Two.
I'm in favor of them restarting the quarterback market, but you're putting yourself in a horrible position because right now, if you let him walk next year, you lose him for $60 million to the Vikings or whoever it is. You still have $40 million in dead money, so you're still hamstringing
he's
yourself.
not going to go to the Vikings.
I'm just pulling a team out of a
Right,
hat
but
here.
what I'm saying is I think Jerry is betting on the fact, and we'll see. He could sign him today. But if he does wait to see how he plays, and to see how the team is, because we don't know how good this team's going to be. If he does wait, then whatever offer he gets, the star on the helmet plus a match dollar for dollar and year for year, he's not going to want to leave Dallas.
Do you think it's a distraction, though, as we go into this season? Because every pass that he makes or every interception that he throws, every touchdown that he throws, that's either adding or subtracting value from this contract. And that is somewhere in the back of Dak's head, in the back of Jerry's head, in the back of Steven's head, and Mike's head, that has to be calculating back there. Okay, I owe him another $1 million because he just threw a 7-touchdown performance against the Cleveland Browns or whatever. Sorry, Bob. But, I mean, that has to be there, right?
Yeah, I mean, but Jerry said that he wants the carrot out there. He thinks it's healthy to have a carrot out there for somebody to play for the contract.
He said that a lot, right? About having somebody play on the hot seat and, what can happen and you get the best out of people. And he's right, but there's the whole thing about caving.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it'll be a fascinating rest of the week to see if something miraculously comes out of nowhere. But, I mean, I've said all along, I think why not let these guys do 1 year and play for their next contract and let the contract that they've already signed and that they already signed up for, let that play out. And then we'll go from there after this is all said and done.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I agree. Chuck and I have been lockstep on this from the beginning because I think Tampa Bay proved that you can go out and get a Baker Mayfield on a 1 year, $6 million deal and go further in the playoffs than the Cowboys did. There's always going to be that guy.
Going to get a Sam Darnold next year to start?
Maybe.
Trey Lance going to start next year?
Again, yeah. I mean, if you don't win 12 ball games and do some damage in the playoffs, then where would it be wrong to maybe kick the tires on something like that, right? I mean, you're clearly spinning your wheels with whatever it is that you're doing right now if you don't go further than what you did
The
last
Packers
year.
let Rodgers and Adams both go.
Yeah, look how quickly they flipped that
bunch
thing
of
around.
dead money, and they go into Dallas and spank them.
I mean, yeah, they had 4 years with Jordan Love before that happened, though, or 3 years with Jordan Love before that happened.
Yes, but and
I don't see
the
an heir
moons and
apparent
the
sitting on
stars
the line back right
aligned.
now.
But again, now and they now have Love under contract, but it's reasonable money by quarterback standards, and that allows you to spend money in other places. The $60 million if you give Dak that you won't be able to do in Dallas.
Hey, Jerry, if you care about our content at all, sign him between now and the next podcast on Thursday so we can talk about that on Thursday.
And he's got Micah to worry about.
But you're right. If you don't, that's right, because you got to get Micah. He's next. He's earned the right to get paid and get paid like
CD.
the best pass rusher in football. So if we're sitting here today and there's nothing done and they get to the offseason and this is still looming over their head and there's a chance that Dak walks and then when he does, you're still on the hook for $40+ million
to Micah
off of your dead money salary cap,
okay.
then you blow the whole damn thing up and you just eat it for a year.
We've said it for a long time. They're going to sign 2 of the 3. I'm not convinced that one of the three is going to be Dak. I think it's going to end up being Micah and CD, and they might let Dak walk.
I'm with you on
the way
that.
this saga has played out. So let's get to some high school football. Like we said last year, we have a commitment to high school football in this program. So we will go through our TNL top 10 for week 2. We'll put them all on here on the sheet for you guys. So first and foremost, I thought week 1 was great. There was a lot of standout performances. Reagan destroyed Brennan, which was a little bit of a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Just because Brennan is another year older, and Caden Glass I thought would come out and be a much more mature quarterback. He had his struggles. He had a couple of touchdowns, or he had a touchdown last week as well. But Reagan is just one of those teams where it's just like, just put him in the playoffs already.
Reload, yeah.
Just put him in the playoffs again. It's just they're just one of those guys. I was also not stunned. I was also taken aback by how explosive Steele is. 4 Division I commits on that offense. between Royal Capel, Jonathan Hatton, Chad Warner, and Jalen Cooper. Is that his name? Yeah, Jalen Cooper. Jalen Cooper had 3 touchdowns in the first half. They're our first team in our TNL top 10. They are just put them in the playoffs too. They're freaking ridiculous. Any immediate takeaways from week 1, guys?
Yeah, the game we did, right? How big, strong, and physical both Brandeis and O'Connor is. If those teams have to play like that with that kind of competitiveness every single week, are they going to have anybody left by week 5, right? It was astonishing how hard those teams went at each other in that ball game, and what a rivalry does to physicality and scheming, and very, very proud of both of those teams, the way they came out and played in week 1.
There's just so much more talent in San Antonio than I can ever remember. The Jordan Clay kid at Madison is going to have to he's
going to have to overcome some quarterback issues.
He's still young. Michael Terry, from what I understand, could commit to Texas as early as this week or next week. And I think we've got Alamo Heights a little low on our poll, by the way. I think they're really, really good.
Chuck and I said that last week, too. We got to have a talk with Carlos.
Yeah, they're low.
They're the 5th ranked team in 5A. Yet they're what, 5th on our TNL top 10 poll?
They need to be ranked higher. But he's really good, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we have a tough poll, man.
We do have a tough poll.
It's like the Ring of Honor and the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Hey, Jimmy finally made it. So
it's hard to get in.
That's true. All right, let's get to the TNL top 10. So Steele's number 1. Jalen Cooper had 3 touchdowns in the first half. Jalen Cooper committing to SMU, thank you. Chad Warner to UTEP. Jonathan Hatton to Oklahoma. And Royal Capel to
Oklahoma
State?
Yes.
Oklahoma State.
Yes.
So, like I said, 4 D1 commits. I don't know about anyone on their offensive line if they're committed right now. I'm sure they are, because Steele is just a powerhouse. They have a huge right tackle. I think he's a freshman or sophomore who's just
they already have a couple of guys that are committed to the NFL.
Yeah, honestly. So, Steele is just
skip a step.
They're just a house, man. And then Reagan is the second team in our TNL top 10 poll. And thank you to David Sines and Lyndon Hamilton for signing up for 48 minutes against each other this Saturday, because we have the top 2 teams in our TNL top 10 poll going head-to-head in Comalander on Saturday at 7 o'clock. And I'll be at UTSA Texas State, so I won't get to watch it, but I will be sure to watch all of the highlights that Jack gets, because that's going to be a banger on Saturday. Number 3 is Piper. Piper, once again, shows their mettle. They beat Bernie last week, 38-36. I was questioning their quarterback. They lost Jake South last year, or coming into this year, and he was our player of the year last year. So I was questioning, okay, how are they going to replace him? Caden Keith had 310 yards and 4 touchdowns. So Piper, once again, showing why they are one of the top teams in 5A. Smithson Valley, what else can you say?
Always.
Right.
What else
write
can you
them in,
say?
pencil it in.
Yep, so they beat Roosevelt 45-0. They play Brennan this Friday. That's another banger of a showdown, because Brennan, even though they didn't have their best game last week, you know that Bazer's going to have his guys ready for that one. Alamo Heights, like we said, was a little bit low. They're at 5. They're 1-0. They defeated Seguin 47-19. If I remember correctly, they won last year 51-48. So it shows you the difference a year can make for these two teams. And Alamo Heights might have found their second in command to Michael Terry because they had a guy named DK Garza who had runs of 50 and 36 against Seguin.
Wow. They got a tight end too who's just 6'7", 240.
Yeah.
Legit recruit.
The really good. Ron Ritteman always has his guys ready. Number 6 is Johnson. They had a heck of a ball game against Judson last week. came back from, I think they were down pretty much the entire games, 21-19. They ended up scoring late. Lauren Bubba Johnson, we might not have Ty Hawkins anymore, but they still have Lauren Bubba Johnson there, and he is one of the best running backs in our area for sure.
For sure.
So they might have more of a, instead of airing it out, more of a ground and pound offense this year, but just put Lauren in there and let him go. They play Piper this week, so another good matchup, our TNL top 10 matchup for us. We got some freaking bangers all over the area this week. They play Piper Friday 7:30 at Warrior Coliseum. Judson falls. I think they were 4 last week. They fall to 7 this week because of that loss to Judson. They play Hutto 7:30 on Friday. They beat Hutto last year 29.
The Hutto mascot?
I don't know.
It's one of the best.
Pizza Huttos.
The Hutto pizza.
The Hutto Hippos.
The hungry hippo.
Everyone has a role on this podcast. That's what Don's is just knowing obscure mascots. New Braunfels was really impressive. They defeated Madison 48-zip under a new head coach. Obviously, you never know what to expect, but 48-zip, what else can you say about New Braunfels?
Yeah,
Another great
machine
mascot.
program. Yep.
Obviously, no rebuilding for them. They're playing Canyon this week. That's going to be a rivalry game for them. They're at Canyon, 7 p.m. on Friday. Brandeis, we talked about a little bit. What did it show from Brandeis? They jump into the top 10 at number 9. They defeated O'Connor 27 to 20. They came back from 17-0. O'Connor looked like they were just pulling out all the stops, but then they kept, as Coach Molesky said at halftime, they just kept shooting themselves in the foot.
Special
the entire
teams
game.
helped them get that lead, and they just couldn't hang on.
Yeah, the quarterback made some ill-advised decisions in the second half that really sunk them. But I was kind of impressed by how Brandeis kind of took all the punches and then started punching back in the second half.
Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, they got a lot of chunk yards with that great running back that they have, and a lot of that was just dive play left, dive play right, and he did the rest.
Yep. So they play Sotomayor at 7 p.m. on Thursday at Ferris. That'll be a good game as well. And then Southwest defeated Harlandale 35-10. They play Lockhart 7:30 on Friday down at Dragon Stadium. The Dragons have split the games between Lockhart the last 2 seasons, including last year's 41-35 home
One of the
victory.
great atmospheres in San Antonio, the Dragon Bowl.
Absolutely.
Always love going down there.
Let's get to our TNL matchup of the week. We got Burbank and Veterans Memorial this week. Burbank is 0-1. I went and shot this game on Saturday. They lost 63-34. It might be the fastest I've gone in and out of a stadium. It was. I will tell you right now, because for those who don't know, we go get 3 or 4 plays, ones that we can air for highlights, and then we get out of there typically. This game started like this. Opening kickoff by Burbank was an onside kick that they recovered. First play from scrimmage, Kevin Hernandez throws a pass to the flat, but it ended up being a lateral, fumbled, run back the other way by Lavernia for a touchdown. So Lavernia starts out 7-0, even though they didn't start with the ball. Next drive down the field, Kevin Hernandez throws a wide open touchdown to Izzy Zapata, and then fumbles, or I think it was a defensive touchdown for Lavernia the other way the next possession after that. I was like, all right, see ya. It was really entertaining, but
Very high scoring.
yeah, it was high scoring for sure.
Yeah, they
I think
scored all those points with 4 turnovers in that football game. I mean, they're going to be fun to watch on Thursday night.
Yeah, and then at halftime of that game, I think it was 49-24. Like it was just a shootout.
How good is Lavernia?
Lavernia is
Yeah,
really
they're good. They're up there. I think they're number 2 in our sub TNO poll.
They are. And if you look at this game coming in off a short week, obviously Burbank played on Saturday, Veterans Memorial played on Friday, but Burbank really condensed week, especially with Labor Day sandwiched in the middle coming into this Thursday night game. Does that affect them at all coming into this game, guys?
I don't think so. I mean, it's early in the season. You got only one tape on the other team. I'm sure they practiced on Labor Day. I'm sure
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Veterans Memorial always has a stout rushing attack. We're going to see the post-James Peoples era Veterans Memorial team, but
James Peoples touchdown for Ohio State
Yep.
on his very first carry as a true freshman.
attaboy.
Pretty cool.
Defense is going to need to be tough up front, but let's hear from Coach Mole here from Burbank.
Well, you know, when you schedule good teams, you do it on purpose. It exposed our weaknesses, and it's allowing us, you know, we have a saying here, failure equals growth. This is an opportunity for us to grow, and they expose the things that we need to fix as a coaching staff and then as a team.
This offense has got a lot of, for lack of a better term, media hype around it. I mean, with him calling the signals back there, how do you guys keep these guys kind of, it's like, look, you're good, but if you don't put in the work, it's not going to show up on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you, man, we have 6 captains, and all of them have earned it. And there's guys that could even be more deserving than just 6 that can be captains. They hold themselves accountable. They want to be good. It makes it a lot easier when you have kids that are focused just as much as the coaches.
How do you go ahead and coach against this team that obviously isn't on television a whole lot this week? You get to showcase your talents for all of San Antonio to see what Burbank is all about this year. How do you tell them it was like, look, we still got a job to do and don't worry about the television?
Yeah, I mean, I really haven't even talked about it. I don't even think about it. You showed up here and we're like, okay, we're going to be on television.
Veterans Memorial, they're also coming off a loss. So you got 2 teams that are going to be really, really hungry to showcase that it was like week 1 was a little bit of a fluke. How do you go ahead and coach against them, and what are some of the keys to victory that you guys need to be able to do?
Well, one thing that we need to improve on from next week, and football's football, doesn't matter which team you go up against, we've got to win the physical point of attack game, whether it's on defense or whether it's on offense. Last week, you go back to the film and we lost. We weren't the more physical team. We're physical at moments, but they were more physical at more moments. And we've got to be the team that wins more physical moments than Veterans Memorial.
Burbank hasn't won a district title since 1978. They finally don't have Alamo Heights in their district. This game is more, I don't know if it's more important, but this game is as important as a game can be to get your season started on the right track before you go into district play. You get things clicking on all cylinders for Burbank, especially if you want to win your first conference title in the last 46 years.
Yeah, they've kind of got a new culture built over there. Big turnout, a lot of kids in the program, and football's a popular, cool thing to do now over at Burbank. And I think he's trying to change the culture and establish a winning culture. And I think they've got the legitimate chance to be good with that kind of numbers participating.
Yep.
Well, everybody in their league is talking about their quarterback, right? And
Kevin
how
Hernandez,
electric he
man.
is. And, he had a really good game this first game out. And I don't know, it was the Zapata kid was, to me, the one that popped.
Izzy's
to
phenomenal,
have that
man.
kind of game. I mean, almost 300 yards receiving and 3 scores against Lavernia. I mean, I'm really, really looking forward to what we see on Thursday night.
As far as Veterans Memorial goes, they're 0-1. They lost to Davenport 32-15. So both these teams coming in 0-1 on this TNL. What can we, for people who don't know, Bobby Irvin, he's been over there for a while. What can you expect from a Bobby Irvin coach team?
Well, they're really multiple offensively. We always thought we were going to see James Peoples run wild. Of course, he was always hurt when we had him on TNL.
Seemed like it.
Sad.
But they were able to throw the football too, and they've got athletes.
They got athletes. Yep, their D-line was really stout when we saw them. I mean, one of those teams that looked very complete, and I would assume that's what we're going to see on Thursday night.
Yeah, they had a DB that was cousins of the Wisdoms at Judson that's playing, I think, at Montana State. Mm-hmm. And they had a really good secondary when we had them a couple years ago.
All right, Chris, let's hear from Bobby real quick before we get on out of here.
What did you learn about the team, and what did film show you?
Well, we knew we had an excellent opponent week 1, and we wanted it to be that way. We felt like we needed to be tested early, and we certainly were. Davenport's a great football team. What we learned is that when we play together and we play team, offense and defense and special teams, we can be a pretty good football team. And so we just got to clean up some mistakes that we made last week and perform better this week.
You guys are no secret to TNL. How special is that you get once again to showcase the talents of what Veterans Memorial football is all about on TNL?
It's an exciting opportunity to get to play on TV, and what you guys do and showcasing high school athletics is really awesome. It's not just about the football team. We've got a lot of great programs here with our band and our cheer, and our entire school community is really excited to participate in this thing, and we're looking forward to it.
And finally, it was just like years past, Burbank would be almost one of those guarantees that you could win. They've got an electric quarterback, and obviously this team is a little bit different. So what are a couple of keys to victory that you guys need to be able to do to get a victory this year?
Well, yeah, you're definitely right about that. Coach Mull and his staff have done an excellent job at Burbank High School, and there's certainly no slouch anymore. And we've got to do a good job on offense and defense of reading our keys, blocking our assignments, and executing to have a shot to win the game.
It's going to be a good matchup when we tee off over at Rutledge Stadium, guys.
Looking forward to it.
All right, that's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We will be back on Thursday to talk more about the Browns and the winning Dallas Cowboys.
Tom Guerrero says hello.
Hi, Tom.
Shout out Tom Guerrero.
We'll
Tom.
also talk more I-35 showdown between UTSA and Texas State. Until then,
Tom,
everyone
what are
have
you
a good
doing?
week.
What are you doing right now?
I'm reaching for my phone.
Oh, okay, all right.
What? Goodbye.
Okay, it's time to go. Bye-bye.